Khalil didn't even think that we should be filming this, but I felt that it was really important to me to spread awareness because I didn't know anything about this. And there's like, after sharing this on my stories, I have heard from so many women that have almost died because of ectopic pregnancy. And so that like this video, if I could just save one life or make a mama feel like she's not alone in this thing that she's going through, like that would be everything to me.
And not just moms either, like, you know, future dads too. Like,
yeah,
I feel like it was very important that I knew what was going on, because if I didn't and I just didn't know this was a thing, there's no telling how that would have went. Like, had I not went and looked and done all the research and saw like what route this could go, I wouldn't have took it as seriously. If we're educated on it, then it's like, okay, no, this is not okay. We need to go to the doctor. And
if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here.
And just so you know the chances of this happening too, we never thought that it would be us. 2% of pregnancies are ectopic, and of those 2%, that it's ectopic and it ruptures. But if you're in that less than 1%, which is still a lot of people,
yeah, because I didn't think this was gonna happen. Hi, my name is Jasmine, and I almost died from an ectopic pregnancy. If you don't know what ectopic pregnancy is, congratulations, you're just like me. I didn't know what ectopic pregnancy was. And I wanna tell my story because I wanna spread awareness. Ectopic pregnancies are life-threatening, and it's the #1 cause of death to women that are pregnant in the first trimester. And a lot of times it can go undiagnosed, especially if you don't know that you are pregnant. A little backstory, I have a history of miscarriages. Well, I have one baby now. He's about 4 years old. And before that, I had a miscarriage before him. And then a year before that, I had a miscarriage. I'm considered high risk when it comes to being pregnant. And then this year, we were talking about having another baby. I was
talking about a lot. Having another baby for sure, because I want more kids.
Yeah, like he was ready. He was ready at like 2, when Lil turned 2. He was way ready before I was. And then this year, early this year, that's when I started telling myself, I'm like, oh my God, like I think I'm really ready. And I started to get really excited about having another baby. And then I was just started like obsessing over, I'm like, okay, I want another baby. I'm ready.
And Lil was asking, right? He kept saying he wanted another sibling, because we live next door to my sister, who has his cousins. So there's 3 of them. And then across the street,
my best friend.
Across from us is her best friend, which is Lil's best friend. So he's just been pushing like he wants a baby brother.
Yeah, he wants a baby brother, but he said like he's good with a baby sister.
Yeah, either way, he's good.
So we tried and we got pregnant about 2.5 months ago.
Yeah.
2.5 months ago, we got pregnant, and I was so excited. I was obsessed with testing, seeing that, like, I was so early. I caught it when I was like 4 weeks, right when.
Like before she was even supposed to have her period.
Way before, because I was just really excited. We were trying. I was like, am I pregnant? Am I pregnant yet? Am I pregnant? So every day I was testing. I had a bunch of like pregnancy tests, HCG strips.
My sister's like the queen of like finding the faintest, like literally the faintest line.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, you're pregnant.
Like holding it up to the light.
Because I really wanted to be pregnant, and then I was pregnant. And then shortly after that, I started bleeding. I started bleeding a lot. And we went to...
What do they call that?
It's a miscarriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
But typically, like if you weren't testing, most would just say they just
got their period, but I knew that I was pregnant.
Right.
And so I miscarried, and it was really heartbroken. I was so heartbroken because I was obsessed with testing that I was pregnant, and I just wanted to have a baby. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I told him, okay, let's take a break from trying. This is mentally exhausting. And then after a month of not trying, I gained the confidence again to try again. Because I'm
Were
like,
we purposefully trying at that point? I don't think
we weren't purposely trying.
We said we were good if it happened, but we weren't going to be like obsessing over
yes.
it, right?
I was like, I'm not going to obsess over it. No strings attached. Because
and the plan was to test later this
yes,
time
the plan,
and not catch it before.
Yes.
Right.
So I didn't want to test. Like, I wasn't obsessing over it in the beginning. I started feeling that I was pregnant. Like, my son was actually the one that told me before I knew I was pregnant the second time. My son was like, Mommy, you're pregnant. You have a baby in your belly. And I was like, how do you know that? Like, how do you know these things? Like, I didn't even know I was pregnant then. And then the day I was gonna test, my son woke up beside me and he said, Mommy, you're pregnant. You have a baby in your belly. And then that day I tested, and that was when I tested positive on a digital test.
Because you didn't test positive.
I didn't test positive last time on a digital test. It was only positive
HCG strips.
Yeah, HCG strips and like the plus signs. Mm-hmm. But this time I tested positive on a digital test, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is my rainbow baby. And I was holding it in.
She didn't even tell me.
I didn't tell him because I wanted to wait. I wanted to wait till I'm like, oh, maybe they can see something. And I waited, and then I have finally told him. I surprised him. I was even trying to get this shirt to give Lil that says,
she secretly bought something, and like, I guess she didn't know before she bought it that the emails would go to my
Amazon.
phone. I didn't see it. I didn't see the Amazon one, but then she tried to cover it up with a Nike one, buying like some golf shirts, and then she tried to like steal my phone to make sure she deleted it.
But it didn't even arrive on time, so I just like surprised him. I showed him the positive test, and
I was confused because originally after the first time we said, and I knew that she hadn't had her period yet, but after the first time we said we weren't going to test.
No, I told y'all I got my period. I was trying to trick everybody. I was like, oh, I got my period.
Yeah.
So that they didn't think, that my family wouldn't think that I was pregnant.
And I knew that how disappointed she would get if it did turn out to be a miscarriage. So I thought that we were going to wait until you missed for a few weeks, right?
Yeah, but I only missed like a week.
But this time you saw it on the digital.
Yeah, I was really excited.
And there was all these, she showed me a notebook, and she had like all these strips that she had tested already.
Yeah.
So it was for real this time.
Yeah, it was for real. The lines were not faint. It was a harsh line, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is my baby. Like I was praying, I was talking to it. I was like, please stick. And a couple of days later, like we went in for my first appointment, and they didn't see anything. My first ever appointment, they didn't see anything. And then...
Because you technically hadn't missed a period yet.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So they didn't say anything, and they said, like, the nurse said, usually when it's this early, the nurses will say it's an ectopic pregnancy. And I didn't even know what an ectopic pregnancy was. So it's kind of like brushed through my head.
So they didn't let me in the room. So I'm sitting in the waiting room. She texted me, and she was like, the nurse said it's an ectopic pregnancy. And I was like, what the hell is an ectopic pregnancy? So immediately, like, I'm starting to Google on my phone what it is. And she kind of just casually said it. So I was just like, okay, so let me see what this is. And I go look it up, and I see what it is. And when you look it up on Google, it says extreme chance of death. You can get internal bleeding if it ruptures and all this stuff. And I'm like, why the hell are y'all talking so casually about this? Like, this looks like a very severe thing.
He was so concerned.
Yeah.
And
so when she came out, I was like, what did they say? Like, what are we supposed to do? And she was like, what do you mean? They just said it's early.
Yeah, I'm just early.
Yeah. So I was freaking out already, and
I wasn't freaking out because I didn't look it up. I didn't know what it meant, and I saw it was rare to get it, and then
it's a 2% chance.
And then we went home. A day after, my results, my test results came back from the appointment, and I read that I had a mass on my left adnexa, or what, I don't know what it was.
Adnexa.
But there's
adnexa.
Adnexa. There's a left in my left ovaries, there was a mass.
Yeah.
And they didn't say anything about it during the appointment. They didn't call me. So I was like, you know what, maybe it's normal. You know, some women usually have like cyst in their ovaries before they're gonna get their period, and then it goes away. So I was like, I thought it was like nothing.
And we started thinking on the bright side, like,
yeah, it's like, oh, maybe it's like the baby going
it's on
through.
its way.
Yeah,
It's on its way. It's coming down. But I was still tripping in my head because I had read what I had read.
Yeah, I didn't read it. Still didn't know what ectopic pregnancy was.
Yeah.
And then nurses called me. They were trying to get me to go schedule an appointment.
They had told you during that appointment to go schedule one for 2 weeks from then, which still is a week from now.
Yeah.
Right? So, and you didn't want to book the appointment.
I didn't want to book the appointment because I wanted to see something. I wanted to see a
Right.
baby in my uterus. I wanted to hear a heartbeat. And I just wanted to wait because I know they don't usually see anything when it's early. And then I got my HCG blood test, and it went up. It went up to like 3,007.
And that was for the first time, because last time when we tested for
was-
HCG, it started going down.
Yeah, it was low.
And so we got super excited because it was the first time we actually saw it go up on a blood test.
Yeah, so I was on a high. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God. And then I got a message from the doctor. It says, your HCG levels are this high, and usually you get to see the sac in the uterus. And I got so excited. So I finally caved in. I was like, okay, let's do the appointment.
Right.
And
And you had started spotting a little bit before, right?
yeah, that's when we went to the emergency.
Yeah. Because we booked
No.
we booked the appointment.
No, we
because
booked the
you had
appointment.
started spotting.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like blood.
No, it wasn't blood this time. It was just like translucent.
Yeah.
It was translucent blood.
Right.
And then we went to the doctor's appointment, and right there and then, the doctor that was talking to me.
Yeah, she came out with the punches ASAP. Like,
Listen, I got
close the door.
Yeah, I got really upset deep inside because I'm like, listen, I don't know you. I came here to see my baby, and then now you're telling me that there's a left in my left ovaries, there's a mass that you're so concerned about, but you haven't even checked me. You haven't even done an ultrasound, and you overwhelmed me with all this information about ectopic pregnancy, and you are making me choose whether to get this chemo shot or surgery, and you haven't even checked me.
So let's pause for a second. First of all, when she came in, keep in mind, like, I had already done the research, so we were on two totally different pages. She was mad because she was trying to see the baby. I wanted to hear about the ectopic pregnancy stuff. The doctor came in and started right away saying what she saw and what she thinks that it is. So she was like...
She was very concerned.
She was very, very concerned. I could see it on her face. But she really laid out three options. She said, number one, and I don't recommend this option, she said, we can go in and we can take a sample from your uterus, and that'll let us know if it's a real pregnancy or not, but that will terminate the pregnancy. So we were like, okay, well, you recommended not to do that. And she said, if this is a planned pregnancy, then we shouldn't go that route because it will end the pregnancy. And if it was a real pregnancy, then, the chance of the pregnancy would be zero. The next option, if this was an ectopic pregnancy, she said you would have to take the chemo shot, which was, what was it called again?
Methotrexate.
Methotrexate. So she had to take essentially what's a chemo shot. It stops the cells from dividing so that if it is an ectopic pregnancy, that the sac wouldn't continue to grow, putting her in more and more danger. So that is like the least invasive route. She would have to take one dose and then it should stop growing. The last option, which sounded extremely scary at the time, she was like, or we can just go in right now and we can remove your fallopian tube and we can remove the pregnancy and it'll be done. And for us, it was like, wait.
I was like, you haven't even checked me. I started like crying so much because I was so overwhelmed. I didn't know like what the hell she was talking about.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of information and a lot of like decision making right on the spot.
And we didn't come in for that.
Yeah, I didn't come in for that. Like, I was
all.
telling him, I'm like, I didn't come here for this.
Right.
I didn't want to, like, I didn't come here for this shit.
So then she did she just said, she was very nice about it.
She was very nice. She was actually, she was good.
She was, I think, honestly, I would say she saved you.
Yeah.
But then she did the ultrasound.
She did, yeah. And then she did the ultrasound. She even got another doctor to look at the mass for a second opinion.
Doctor who was pregnant, by the way, which was like...
Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, there's this like mass in the left ovaries. And then they said that the ultrasound in their level is not the best.
Right.
And then they sent me to radiology to get a clear ultrasound. So I went there, and then I got the results.
Well, they didn't say nothing.
No, they didn't say nothing.
They sent us back.
Yeah, they sent us back. We were at the hospital for hours.
Which is extremely annoying, by the way.
Yeah.
They just sit there and they do the scans, they do all the things.
They're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah, I know, but still, in a situation like this too, it's just like, they're just like,
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there like, all right, well, what is, and then they send you back across the street, right?
Yeah.
So we were going back and forth.
Yeah, it was a long day, and then I think we went back to the OB, and then she said, you know, this is an ectopic pregnancy. She
confirmed it.
Yeah, she confirmed it. My HCG level didn't go up. It only went up by 700.
The threshold was 30. It has to go up by 37% for them to still consider it a real pregnancy, and it did.
Yeah, it went up by 700, and then that's when I like started like crying in there. It was like, it just confirmed to me that this was not it.
Right.
I'm just like looking up. And then I was just like so heartbroken, and then she was like, okay, you have two options. Yeah, she's like, you have two options. You get the shot or you go through surgery. And at first I thought about like, you know, like the surgery, but I was like, obviously I would try to save my fallopian tube. I don't want to go through surgery. I don't want to go under. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, we'll just do the shot. But I was so overwhelmed because it was just like, I came there to check my baby. And then it was just that. It was just like, I was so heartbroken. I felt like I was in a high, and then I got like dropped down. And it like hurt so bad.
Because of how urgent they are, and because of how life-threatening it is, the decision needed to be made, and it needed to be made.
Yeah, I was like, do I have to make the decision now? And then they said, yeah.
Yeah, because if it grew any more, then she would be putting herself in more danger.
Yeah, and then I got the shot, and I was just, yeah, I got the shot, and it was painful, by the way. I felt like my...
2 shots in the butt cheeks.
Yeah, I was just laying there, face down. I felt so exposed, because my butt was just up. And then, but the nurse was so great. She's Filipino. And yeah, she gave me the shot, and the shot burned. And I was like, I'm just like glad it's just, you know, over it. Like I'm done. Like I was ready to just be over it. I'm just ready to move on and like just call it a day, because it has been a long day.
And with the shot, it's chemo stuff. So she couldn't go outside. She wasn't allowed to work out anymore just because of the risk. So she had to stay inside the house.
Yeah.
They said they did her blood test to make sure that it wouldn't be toxic to her kidneys and to her liver. So we were all good there. So when we were leaving the hospital that day, it was just like, okay, we take this shot and that's it. It's over. But I remember specifically, I asked the doctor, I was like, okay, so after we take the shot, what happens to the pregnancy? Like, yes, you said that this is going to stop it from growing, but that doesn't mean that it's going to go away. So what happens to the sac, and how does that get out? Because it's stuck there, right? So that's what I was thinking. And she was like, well, technically, it's not a guarantee that it's going to come out. So I was like, so you mean if we do this shot, there's a chance we still have to get the surgery? And she said, well, yeah, I mean, that there is a chance that happens if it doesn't dissolve on its own. So we were like, oh, okay. But she was like, most times they just dissolve on their own. So did the shot and we left that day, right?
after that,
We were supposed to do a follow-up. This was on a
yeah, so I was
Friday.
supposed to do a follow-up on Saturday.
On Saturday
And then Tuesday.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to urgent care and get my HCG test. But then Friday comes. I have been feeling this dull cramp. But I was
the doctor said if you feel anything, she said if it's a very mild cramp, you're okay. But if you feel any pain, you need to come in. You need to come in immediately, because she said if you feel a pain, chances are that it ruptured. And if it ruptured, it's a very, very high chance you have internal bleeding and you could die. And that's how I received that. It was like, if I hear you say anything, we're going to the hospital. I'm not putting this at risk. If you have to fart, we're going to the hospital.
He was on my ass. Like, honestly, like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And every time I was like, ow, he would be like, are you okay? Like what, like, is the pain level? Like, what cramp is it? Like, how are you feeling? Like, he was on my ass. But the whole day, like, I was like fine. But that night, I picked up Lil. I put him down on his bed, and I just started to cramp. He was about to go to sleep. He was in his sheets.
He was showered. I was in the bed. I was already dozing off.
And then I felt a cramp. It was like, I was like this. I was bent over, and I thought it was just gas. I thought I just needed to fart. I thought because I ate like shrimp boil, so I thought it was that. I was like, I'm just cramping. Like, it's nothing. I think it's just gas. But then I noticed that I was just like this, bent over. The pain was not going away.
I could hear her from the other room, and I was like, if you say one more thing, we're leaving right now.
I was just bent over on Lil's bed. Lil was freaking out because my eyes was closed, and I was just like cramping. And then he was like, "Mommy, open your eyes." And I was just like, I felt so bad. And then I had to call my best friend. I'm like, listen, can you watch Lil? We need to go to the emergency right now because my cramp was just, I was
like, get dressed, we're going. We're not taking the chance of you internal bleeding, because the chances are, like, if there is internal bleeding, like, it's not something that comes out, it's not something that says, hey, you're bleeding inside. If she were to go to sleep, she wouldn't have woke up. So for me, it was like, once I heard internal bleeding, I was like, if you feel anything, we're going. So she kept complaining, and I was like, all right, we're leaving.
Yeah.
And then you called Tay.
I called Tay, and she watched our son. We went to the emergency, and I was just crying because I was in so much pain.
And I was annoyed as hell at the emergency. I don't know if you've ever been inside the emergency room, but there's all kind of people in there. Some people do have an emergency, but some people are in there because they got a headache or they got a little tummy ache or whatever. But for me, it was like, this is a life-threatening situation. I didn't feel like they were acting fast enough. So I felt like they were moving very slow. So I was in a rush. Luckily, I saw one of my old teammates was a nurse on staff at the time. So he was like, yo, what's going on? So I told him, and then he was like, all right, I'll make sure you guys get in, like, ASAP.
Yeah.
And then we got in.
Yeah, and then they put me right away in a bed, and they started giving me medication right away. They gave me morphine. They gave me 2 shots of morphine, because the first time after I went up and peed, I felt like sharp pains. I felt like I was getting stabbed like multiple times, and it was just so much pressure right here. I was getting so much cramps. I was in so much pain, like so much more pain than the time I came in.
But when you came in, though, the doctor, when he came to see us, he said that he didn't think that it ruptured.
Yeah, he didn't think that I ruptured and that I shouldn't need surgery.
Yeah, he was just like, we'll just let it subside, and, things should be fine. It doesn't look like it's gotten to the point where it's ruptured. We won't have to. So we were chilling at that point.
Yeah, so we were even joking around, like, what are the odds, who would, I'm not gonna get surgery. Like, I was just like looking at the bright side. Yeah. And then the pain started happening again, and they said, you need to go to an ultrasound right now. And the pain had to go down first, but the pain wasn't going down. Even the second shot of morphine, I was like, okay, this is still a lot of pain. And then they gave me I don't even know if that was morphine too.
I don't even think they told us what it was. Whatever it was.
It was strong as hell. I felt the pain leaving out my body, which was a good thing. But I have felt so sick after. I felt like I was going to throw up. I did throw up multiple times. But then like in the middle, I was like having the sweats. But the pain was gone. But I felt nauseous. Like I felt like I needed to throw up. And I was throwing up. And then while they were doing the ultrasound on me, I was sweating and I felt like I needed to throw up. I told the ultrasound person was like, okay, I need to throw up. Like, how long is this gonna take? They said like 15 more minutes. And then right when I got up, I threw up in the bathroom and I was just so nauseous. And then the doctor checked in after they got the results and they said, you have fluid in your
abdomen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they said, you need to go, the OB doctor, they said, you need to go into surgery now.
Yeah.
And then it was just a lot. I was just like, this is too much.
Yeah, immediately it turned into something totally different.
And I was so scared. Like, I was so scared, like, the whole time.
And so were they. Like, I could hear the, like, panic in their voice. It was like, this needs to happen, like, right now.
Yeah.
So we don't really, it felt to me like we didn't really have time to wait.
No, we didn't have, like, I didn't,
anything.
Yeah, no. They're like, you need to have surgery. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a lot. It was just a lot happening because...
It was like 3 a.m. at the time.
Yeah, it was a lot. And then I went through surgery. I just, like, slept.
But so you were drugged up. I was not. I was totally sober the whole time. So I was like, fuck, like she's going into surgery, which means she has to go under anesthesia. I had heard multiple horror stories of surgeries gone wrong. There was a kid up at my college that, you know, he died, he bled out from a routine wisdom tooth extraction. So in my head, I'm like hoping for the best, preparing for the worst, like everything's happening all at once. And, you know, I stayed with her until they were going to take her in because they had to actually call in surgeons because nobody was there on staff.
Nobody was there, yeah.
So then, you know, we said our, you know, I love yous and goodbyes. And then she went in and she went to sleep. I was still sitting there in the waiting room. It's 4 a.m. Nobody's there, like not a janitor, nobody, complete, total silence. So I'm just thinking of all the different scenarios that could happen. So it's like, you know, what if we were too late? What if they mess it up? There was a lot of what ifs. So for me, it was like, you know, if it does go that way, then I was thinking like, I'm going to have to go tell Lil, like what happened and somehow explain that to him. And I still got to be strong for him. And I still got to make sure that he's all right if she didn't make it for some reason. And it was a lot to think about for 2.5, 3 hours straight of just like, nobody's checking in, nobody's seeing if, you know, let me know that things are all right. So I just started going through multiple scenarios like, damn, if she like, yeah, that was,
yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot.
He said the person that was going to tell him the bad news.
I didn't know, honestly, did not know how I would react. If they came out and said something went wrong, I couldn't see myself not snapping. Because instantly I would feel like, even though they were doing everything they could, I would feel like you messed it up. And I don't care who it was that came out and gave that news. That's just, I would feel instantly like you took her from me, and I don't know how I would react at that point. And like I made the joke, like somebody came out, like every next person that came out was just catching something. Everybody was, and I would just say, no, you're wrong, and just keep until somebody came and gave better news. Like that's, in my head, that's how it would have went down. But like I'm joking about it, but it was a very, very real, you know, situation. And the whole time, like, her friend's asleep, so I don't know how Lil's doing. He's asleep. Everybody I know is asleep. So I didn't have anybody to talk to. And yeah, it was very scary for me on the outside. And I went to grab some food because I hadn't eaten in a long time, so I ordered something. And when I came back up, I got out of the elevator and the nurse was like looking for me out there. So I was like, "Yo, what's going on?" And I was ready. And she was like, "Everything's good. She made it. We got it out. She did have internal bleeding. We had to take out her left fallopian tube, but she's good. She's recovering. Everything's good." So I was like,
Yeah,
I felt like I was 1,000 pounds lighter at that moment.
Yeah, first person I was trying to look for, I couldn't even see when I was just waking up, because I was like, when I was first waking up after the emergency, I was shaking so bad, like shaking, like uncontrollably shaking. I think that's like the cause of like anesthesia. But first person I wanted to see was him. I was just like, oh my God, like I just felt like relieved. But obviously still so sad. I was so sad. I'm still so sad. And this is why, like, Khalil didn't even think that we should be filming this, but I felt that it was really important to me to spread awareness, because I didn't know anything about this. And there's, like, after sharing this on my stories, I have heard from so many women that have almost died because of ectopic pregnancy. And so that, like, this video, if I could just save one life or make a mama feel like she's not alone in this thing that she's going through, like, that would be everything to me.
And not just moms either, like, future dads too. Like,
yeah,
I feel like it was very important that I knew what was going on, because if I didn't, and I just didn't know this was a thing, there's no telling how that would have went. Like, had I not went and looked and done all the research and saw like what route this could go, I wouldn't have took it as seriously. Because dudes, we don't feel any of it. We don't feel any of the hormones. We don't feel any of the pains. We just kind of are on the outside. But if we're educated on it, then it's like, okay, no, this is not okay. We need to go to the doctor and
Yeah, honestly, like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here, because I wouldn't have went to those appointments.
Yeah.
I would have slept it off and thought it was gas.
But I mean, just think too, if we would have waited those 2 weeks, like the second week is still next week. You know what I'm saying? And we wouldn't have even gone in for that first ultrasound when she told you what the choices were.
Yeah.
And some women don't find out that they're pregnant until...
I know. Some women don't even know. That's why
8 weeks, 10 weeks.
It's so dangerous.
Yeah, so I would say, with this video, definitely like and subscribe, or like and share this video, just to make sure that we could spread awareness about this.
Yes, share this.
You could be saving somebody's
share this
life.
To all the mamas that want to be moms one day. I think, like, it's my calling to spread awareness about this.
And just so you know, the chances of this happening too, we never thought that it would be us. 2% of pregnancies are ectopic, and of those 2%, 30%, so less than a 1% chance that it's ectopic and it ruptures. But if you're in that less than 1%, which is still a lot of people,
yeah, because I didn't think this was gonna happen to me. This felt like, to me, I felt like I got hit by a truck.
Right. And now, for future pregnancies, they're saying...
Yeah, for now, they said if you're gonna try again, well, they said I can't try for another 3 months
because of the shot.
Yeah. But they said the likelihood of me having another ectopic pregnancy is higher because I've had an ectopic pregnancy. They said if I get pregnant again, I have to come in right away the first time I find out that I'm pregnant. So it means I need to be testing.
Right.
And I need to tell the doctors that I had an ectopic pregnancy so they can monitor my levels. So that's how it's gonna be. And then the OB suggested too, she said that, there's these procedures that they do, that they pick the egg and then they just implant it in your uterus.
In vitro, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it happened again, you just wouldn't have any fallopian tubes.
No, then I wouldn't be like having another baby.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I don't really almost got me
You gonna cry?
there. Yeah, I was close.
Damn. He never cried.